Hey, I'm Gracie, and you found yourself here inside another riveting episode of Gracie Asks Dumb Questions so you don't have to. I'm here to fall on my own sword on Shame Hill as I ask questions that artists, like myself, are too embarrassed to ask. But I'm not too embarrassed. I have no shame. Or do I? Seriously though, we don't do gatekeepers here. So it's time to ask totally legitimate, not dumb at all questions. So here we go. Today, we are exploring the most basic of questions, but also maybe one of the most important ones. And that question is, how do I grow a fan base? This is obviously a really important question. If you're an artist or a musician of some kind, then you probably have the artist part figured out. You probably have music that you're super proud of. Maybe you've spent a ton of time meticulously crafting your brand, your persona, and your artistic world. But a universal truth still remains. You need fans to enjoy the glorious kingdom that you've been building. Now, if you're just doing music for fun and aren't trying to build a fan base, what are you doing here? This video isn't for you. Get out of here. But for the rest of you, let's find some answers. Okay, real talk time. Did you know I work full-time for a music marketing company? This YouTube channel, Full Stack Creative, is sponsored by Indepreneur, where we literally teach artists how to market and build their fan bases. More on that later. While I work for a music marketing company, I'm also an independent artist trying to do the same thing as you are, like building my fan base. So in the interest of expanding my brain, here is the first step I took when tackling this task. First, I Googled how to build a fan base, and I read all the articles on the first page of Google. I also searched the same term on YouTube and watched the first 12 or so videos that came up. So here is a condensed version of what I learned. Trigger warning, what I'm about to say is nothing new. Number 1, be consistent. Number 2, know your brand. Number 3, treat your fans well. Hang on, I gotta wet my whistle. How bad of an idea is it for me to put this on the cat tree? Number 4, make connections in your industry or genre. This one's kind of nebulous though, right? It's like when you look at a job application for an entry-level job, but it requires 10 years of experience. Like, it's kind of difficult to jump into it if you don't already have an in. Some great ways to start to do this is to get connected with groups or clubs or events that foster these kind of connections. Now, to be honest, we're not gonna cover this much in this video, but I do think that it's solid advice. From the research I've done, these are the most common pieces of advice cited for building a fan base. So I think it's only natural to put these things to the test. For this, I asked a bunch of real smarties about their experiences growing fan bases for themselves and others. So here's our incredible FRIENDSPERTS lineup for today's episode. First up, Jack McCarthy and Kyle Circa Lemaire. If these fellows look familiar, it's because their faces are all over this gosh darn channel. As the founder of Indepreneur and the head of our IndieX agency, these dudes are responsible for the growth and monetization of countless artist careers and literally millions of dollars in revenue for artists. Not to mention, Circa has been hard at work building his own fan base from the ground up. So trust me when I say these guys know what they're talking about. Next up, we have got 4 stellar musicians who have grown very impressive followings for themselves in the social media realm. We've got pop artist BLÜ EYES. Katie has been a musician for quite some time, but in the past few years has found great success with her newest project, BLÜ EYES. With an impressive ecosystem of nearly 400,000 social media followers and nearly 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, Katie's been doing it right. Pop punk band The Wonder Years has been steadily growing their diehard fan base since 2005, and their lead guitarist Casey has a lot to say about watching the industry change over the years while still staying connected to fans and bringing new fans into the fold. Pop artist Logan Alexandra has got her branding so dialed in, making it easy for fans to immediately identify themselves with the musical world she's created. Silver play button and all, Logan's audience of more than 656,000 cumulative followers know that they're always going to get great content from her. And finally, Devin of electronic project Dev Lemons, as well as the face and founder of the YouTube channel SongPsych, where Devin breaks down all things music theory, trending music and artists, and more. Devin began growing both these projects at the same time a couple years ago, and her progress in such a short amount of time is pretty impressive. So now that you know why the people we're going to hear from are so awesome, let's get into it. So starting at the top, What did our FRIENDSPERTS have to say about consistency? Well, being able to achieve consistency in your content often requires the dreaded P word,
There's so much immediacy going on, and everywhere you look, you'll see an immediate viral video, an immediate streaming success. Most of those things are the product of a lot of work behind the surface leading up to it. The second you extrapolate it and say, hey, I don't have to do this overnight. You know, what does it look like? What can I get done in a year instead of just like, I'm going to drop a single and how far can I get in a month? The second you pull back that lens and start to stretch that timeline out, it can really help disarm a lot of that frustration and a lot of that self-doubt because it just gives you a much more realistic perspective.
Now I have decided to post every Monday and Thursday, and I post the same videos on each platform, and I've just stuck to music, and that's what's worked for me. So it's just gonna evolve all the time of what's working at the time. I was different on each platform, and now I'm growing a lot faster by being the same on each platform, and it's a lot less work. I'm making less videos.
I think it's really important to sort of think about your launch as like a strategy, you know, like that's the one thing I really wish, if I could have gone back and done it differently in terms of my music at least, I would have not put out the first stuff I like made. I would have maybe taken my time, made a lot more of a backlog of songs, and then looked at all the songs I made and go, okay, like which ones are the best ones? Which ones should I put out first? Like, at least for me, it's like really hard for me to hold on to music. Like I just want to like throw it up and like put it out. But it's okay to pump the brakes. I think strategy is so important.
All that makes sense, right? Successful businesses require planning and strategy to grow and attract people. And our content and branding is a huge part of that. But let's be honest, branding can feel kind of daunting, right? So how do we develop this crucial piece of our business?
No, branding is bullshit. Honestly, no offense to you or your job. That got me in my head so much, as opposed to like, just like, what do you like? Like, just write down some things that you like and just like embody those things. It doesn't have to be this thing like, I need to be this brand. If you are able to get in touch with yourself, what you actually authentically think is cool, what you actually authentically think is important to stand for, that's what's gonna connect with people. Like, that's the, you know, the drum that's been beat to death, but like authenticity is everything, but like in a real way. Like if you are trying at all, people will sniff it out and be like, no thanks.
Like sometimes I'll scroll back through my Instagram and I cringe at like the things I was trying. Like I was gonna be like a rocker girl at one point, which just like isn't me, but I wanted like a persona. I tried so many different things. Figuring out what worked for me was honestly probably finding out who I was in general. Like I said, I was trying to be a rocker girl because I thought that's who I am, but then like as I matured and grew up, I'm like, I'm not a rocker girl. I like pop, pink, and lots of like fun little colors. So I think figuring out who I was as a person, I've just evolved with my audience and evolved with my brand as I figure out who I am.
You have to be as open to change and embrace the change as much as you possibly can, because these platforms are always changing, trends are always changing, and what people want to consume is always changing. So if something's not working, you gotta innovate it. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's not gonna like explode.
I put a lot of effort into my last song and then like no videos, like not a single one did anything, which is fine. That's how it happens sometimes. And I have to tell myself, like, just as often as it randomly works, and it's like, wow, how did that? I don't know how. It also randomly doesn't work. But yeah, I think that my advice would be just like try all the different formats. And if you notice that the For You page is like latching onto a certain format, then just keep doing that like over and over and over.
I think we all know that authenticity is important. And I think we all have that instinct that Katie was talking about. We can sniff out a faker a mile away. We all know what that cringe feeling is like when we stumble across content that just doesn't hit the mark. But The tricky part is that you might not know what that authenticity looks like for you until you start throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks. So in a nutshell, branding isn't just about having good pictures, it's about having a whole world that you build through the type of content you post, the type of language you use, the energy you bring, the way you interact with your fans, and the messages in your music. It's the sum of all these parts, so it's worth thinking, planning, and testing things to get it right. Because our fans are really worth it, and if we want more of them, we have to give them some good shit to dig into. Like, have you ever met someone and you just instantly knew that you liked them? You just knew that you were gonna click with them? That's how we wanna be for our potential fans. We want our branding and content to be so dialed into who we are as music makers and artists that people who stumble across our content immediately know whether or not they click with us.
My first priority when I'm going online, like for promoting my music, is to let my music sort of take the back seat and promote myself first. Like, if I can make people like me, then they'll be more inclined to go stream my music rather than just like making my whole brand a commercial for my music. You know what I mean?
Focus on finding the people that are going to really, really love what you do before you try and cast a net of people that are going to be a little bit more middle of the road, because the people that really, really love what you do and love you for the specific nuances that you put out there, when they were tasked with the choice of, well, there's 1,000 bands out there making pretty good music, this is the one that I feel like I am most at home with.
Then I had a video in the beginning of December that got like 40,000 views and I had like 300 followers or something, and I was like, whoa, I'm viral, bitch, like, let's go. I'm probably not allowed to swear. And I was getting all these people being like, this is exactly how I feel, and it was a song that I had been afraid of posting.
Make your personality shine through on the internet as much as you humanly possibly can, because that's the way that you're gonna get people to really pay attention and make yourself really stand out.
Okay, so we know that to attract fans to us, we need to showcase the most authentic version of ourselves in our music. But outside of hoping that the algorithm will pick up on who we're trying to reach, what other options do we have in finding those people that will deeply connect with what we're doing? I've seen a lot of people advising artists to engage in these intensive hand-to-hand combat style growth methods, such as following a certain number of people per day or going to the comment section of a band that's similar to yours and engaging with a certain number of their followers in the comments. DMing X amount of people per day, you get the gist. And I'm sure that you've heard of these formulas before and maybe you've even tried them. And it's not that they can't help you gain some new followers, but it's not really a promising method to grow your following. Plus, these formulas and organic methods do take a lot of time, something that not everyone has. If you're anything like me, you probably have more on your plate than just music. For example, I work a full-time job here at Indepreneur, and I'm a mother of 2 and I have a stepson. And this is where we're gonna have some clips of the cats. Ha 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 ha. This is my oldest boy, Dumplin. He's a good boy. Oh, he loves me so much. And this is my youngest son, little boy. He's a little pumpkin. He's a little sweetie pumpkin baby boy. I love you. This is my stepson, Obi. He loves me. Actually, I thought he was gonna run. He is letting me pet him. He's a cutie boy. They're not kids. They're cats. I really do know the struggle to find the time to wear every hat required of you when you're an independent musician. So how do we find time as artists to do all of this?
There are a lot of other things that you could be focusing your time on rather than, DMing a bunch of strangers totally cold or commenting on their posts and hoping that they pay attention to you. When it comes to the paid side of things, you can shortcut a lot of that time with, a small budget that you can effectively put your music in front of the people who might be best fit to see it at the time that you're going to be showing it to them. And that's where it kind of differs. It allows you to shortcut a lot of that drudgery.
It's a pretty big crapshoot when it comes to organic posting. You really have to focus in on making tons and tons of content. Like, you want to have multiple at-bats per week. And then you need to find something that catches. TikTok's helping because people get natively fed content that's of the right ilk. But ultimately, it's going to take a lot of time, effort. You could end up in a place where you spent all this time, you've created different types of content, none of it really hit. None of it's attracting an audience, and it's just very slow going. Whereas with ads, like, I can run an ad and I can know within, this week within a few days if that piece of content is going to get me fans every day for the next year.
One of the biggest concepts in digital marketing that definitely applies to music marketing is the idea of what we call a return path. It's the ability to have a second touch point or a follow-up with an audience. For example, if you're running your music video, a performance video of your song on Instagram, you have essentially an audience pool of people that you know have watched your video, and you can serve them additional advertising from there. It's called retargeting. You're probably familiar with it if you visit a store that you like online and then you get followed around with retargeting ads reminding you to buy. You can do that same kind of thing, except you don't need to remind people to buy. You could be serving them the content that you're then posting organically. You know, you can spend $1 or $2 a day just to make sure that these people that are coming into your world for the first time stick.
Okay, so running ads can be really effective at finding our ideal fans, helping us build a connection with them to where we can reach back out while also giving us a ton of our time back. But isn't there a shortcut? Like, why can't we just buy followers or streams to bolster our efforts? Because if we look bigger than we are, more people will be attracted to us, right? Also, what about getting on Spotify playlists? Won't getting on playlists help me also?
The problem with user-generated playlists, especially the ones touted by playlist plugin companies, is that very, very few playlist plugin companies, like I can count on one hand how many I've interacted with, are building their playlists through ads, meaning they have a targeted audience of people, real people, who followed the playlist because they wanted to and because they wanted to listen to this kind of music. Furthermore, a lot of playlist companies are just sort of using low quality traffic, so they'll advertise to places where advertising is really cheap because there's a lot of fake accounts. There's a very low GDP, so they're very unlikely to spend much money on anything, much less music, and they'll fill up their playlist follows that way.
One of the worst pieces of advice that you'll find out there, and your DMs are probably getting flooded with it, are like offering you the opportunity to buy followers or to buy views or to buy streams. It's one of the most destructive things that you can do. It just pollutes the crap out of your data, and you're likely just getting people that aren't actually real people. They're bots or they're click farms. They're not going to continue to stream your music. They are not going to continue to engage with your posts. They're not going to sign up for your email list or buy your merch or come to your shows. And that's the biggest thing, is that you get this one-time momentary hit of maybe real, probably fake people taking an action, and then nothing more. It is, in most cases, purely vanity. For any artists out there that think like, oh, I just need to have a lot of XYZ thing, whether it's followers or streams on a track, and you know, that will get me in conversations with a label or a manager. People in the music business are smarter than that. You know, they know how to sniff out when something isn't working or isn't real. So you can't pull a fast one on any of it. Believe me, I've had plenty of people try to on me. You can't. It just doesn't work.
So when I first started out, I was a high schooler, and it was all about the likes and the followers, and I would actually pay for likes and I would pay for followers, and I was in engagement groups. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of money. And it actually, if you get too deep into it, Instagram can actually like categorize your profile as a scam and not push people to you. So you want to make sure that you're growing organically, and then Instagram will see, oh, these people like her, and they'll send more people like those people to you.
It's not a great long-term idea to pollute your data with things that aren't real, because that's going to like drastically reduce your chances of succeeding in the future. Furthermore, you won't be able to use any of these systems we've been talking about, because anytime you create an audience of people who have interacted with you in the past, it's going to include lots of fake people. It's going to be difficult to communicate with any people who actually do like your music.
Okay, so now we know that advertising can help us get the most out of our content creation, saving us time, can help us find the exact people who will love what we're doing, saving us a lot of hand-to-hand combat and guesswork, can help us find real fans while keeping our data clean, and can be a self-sustaining machine bringing us new fans every day. But Gracie, you may be asking, isn't running ads expensive?
To give you an example, like I have an ad running right now at $5 a day for our song We Don't Make It to Midnight. It gets a click over to Spotify for about 18 cents, which means that you have to imagine that we're getting probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 25 to 30 clicks a day over to our Spotify from people who haven't heard of us before. Now, because they clicked, they're highly likely to investigate not just that song, but other songs on our profile. And I don't have to do anything for that to happen. Every day, I'm going to get 30 new people, 30 new chances to become a longtime listener of us. At the same time, it's all the right people because the ad campaign is optimized. So it's showing it just to people who are most likely to click it, meaning they're most likely to enjoy it. And now Spotify knows, hey, this is what your listener looks like for this song. So when it goes to Discover Weekly, it's registering a lot of positive hits. When it distributes out to Discover Weekly saying, hey, you might like this song based on your listening habits, if it gets positive results back because that data is so good, it's going to keep doing it. It's going to keep doing it at a greater and greater clip, becomes this sort of perpetual motion machine.
When you set a budget, you're not just saying to Facebook, here's $500, go figure it out. You're setting budgets on a daily basis. So you can be spending as little as $5 or $10 a day to get your feet wet and really start putting your music in front of an audience. And then you can learn and tweak and test new things and really get some solid data on what's actually working.
So with having the flexibility in advertising to run ads for as little as $1 a day, isn't it kind of a no-brainer? And maybe you're convinced. Maybe hearing this has made perfect sense to you and you're ready to get started, but don't know how to start learning. Well, I've got the answer to that question too. IndiePro is the #1 music marketing resource for independent artists on the planet, nay, in the galaxy, and I truly mean that. When you join Indepreneur's Premier membership, you instantly gain access to a training vault of more than 20 trainings on everything from running $1-a-day ads to making video content that's perfect for social media to building your brand to monetizing your music and actually making an income from your passion. Not to mention, you also get direct access to our incredible community of independent artists just like you who are using affordable advertising to grow their fan bases. If you can learn how to write a song or play an instrument or design a synth, you can absolutely learn digital marketing. And if you learn it, I know you'll be able to leverage it to accomplish everything you have been working so hard towards. Now, the last big question I wanted to cover is what you should have already established for yourself before you even begin to think about attracting a fan base to yourself. So here's what our FRIENDSPERTS had to say.
What do I need to attract an audience? And what you really need is a great sounding product, great songs for sure. And really, truthfully speaking, you need to have good video content that will pull people in. The kinds of videos that you really want to be focused on for discovery, for attracting an audience, is performance-based videos. Realistically, you can do them on a cell phone. You just need to make something that gives people who are discovering it, they have to have that oh shit moment of if they were seeing what you're doing, they would pull out their phone and go, oh shit, I want to film this.
I would say that you need to be making and releasing music consistently. Either you've prepared an album and that's going to come out and now you're using the singles you're dripping out from that album as your promotional point, or you have a plan and a process by which you're releasing a single every month or every 2 weeks, whatever it might be. But you don't want to have no music to release and no music out. That's really kind of the starting place. Then you want to have an ad budget that can be $5 a day. It can be less, we have people who started with $1 a day ads and built up their audience that way. And then from there, it's just about creating the right content, which, we offer training on sort of how to do that and how to create videos that really, really work for ads really well. And from there, you could spend your whole first year doing that and see a lot of results. Certainly that's what it's been like for us, is we saw a lot of results with just running ads and creating music.
Advertising is not expensive, and it's an investment into your career with a huge payout. Hit the link in the description to find out more about how you, yes, you can learn how to market your own music like a freaking wizard or something. And as a bonus, you'll get to see this little doll face all the time. Now, here are the last few things our FRIENDSPERTS had to say.
Starting from absolute zero sucks. It doesn't have to suck. Ads are like a cheat code. They really are.
I can have a song that's 4 years old and I could post about it on TikTok and it could blow up and it'll be new to people and they won't care that it's 4 years old. So I think that just keeping that mentality when you're posting cold essentially to every time.
Digital marketing, it just really does seem like a cheat code. Why isn't this a bigger resource in music as it is in literally any other business sector.
I think the music industry is historically very slow at adopting things. That's why it's still a small industry in terms of comparing it to other sectors in the business world. Revenue-wise, the music industry is still dwarfed by countless other industries that use modern digital marketing. And I think there is a bit of a learning curve as well, especially for artists that are trying to do this themselves, which is really a lot of what we try to do here at Indepreneur, is teach people the way to grow using some of these tools, and at IndieX, help them capitalize by being their team.
If you're trying to grow a fan base in social media, I would say just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Release the song that's been sitting in your phone for a year. Release it, put so much into each song. The promo and the things that you put into it are gonna come back to you. You're gonna receive the effort that you put into it and put into the promotion.
Release it all. You never know what's gonna hit and what's gonna work. If you don't like something, don't release it. Whatever, just make a lot of shit and just let people hear it.
To echo what Katie and Logan said, release the music. Put your beautiful art into the world. Let people find it and listen to it and love it. And help them find it using a cheat code to deliver it right to their screens. If any of this makes sense to you, hit the link in the description to see how Indie Pro might be the piece you've been missing. This concludes this episode of Gracie Asks Dumb Questions, so you don't have to. And just to remind you, there is no such thing as a dumb question in this realm. We're learning, we're growing. It's okay that you don't know everything. I don't know everything either, but we're gonna figure it out together. So do you have a dumb question that you would like me to ask next? Hit the link in the description to tell me your questions. I've been Gracie Phillips for Full Stack Creative. If you liked this video and found it helpful and stuff, please like and subscribe for more videos on music marketing, growing your fan base, and running your music business. I love you so much. Goodbye.